and welcome back to Chelsea Lee Reads. Today we're going to talk about what I read in October and what we're looking at reading for the rest of the year. A bit of a change of scenery today. I have makeup on and my hair done, so I figured I'd take full advantage of that and record a video. It is a lovely sort of dreary day here where I am, but I like this weather, so it's the perfect day to curl up and read a book after church. So today we're going to talk about what I read in October. I only got around to 3 books in October. I was really sick for like a week and a half and had no energy to read anything, so I am just glad that I got 3 done. I'll put them up over here in the space area while I talk about them. So the first book I finished this month was Pachinko by Jin Lee. That was for my In Real Life book club with my sister-in-law and some friends, and I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it a 4-star rating on Goodreads. I really enjoyed the story and the 4 generations of the family that we followed. And everything that they had to deal with during the Second World War, being Korean, and the Japanese not necessarily liking Koreans, and all the racism and issues that were being dealt with back then. I have my dog beside me, which is why if you hear anything funky, that's probably her, and why I'm like petting the air over here. It is a dog. So that was my first book finished for October. Pachinko by Jin Lee. The second book I finished was A Face Like Glass by Frances Hardinge. I first started this book and it talks about cheese and cheesemakers, and I was like, what did I pick up to read? This random book about cheese and cheesemakers and these catacombs type tunnels in this underground city, and I'm just like, I don't think I'm going to enjoy this book. But I am glad I stuck it out because it was actually really great. You follow a little girl, well, she's not little, I guess she's like 12. And she's very immature for her age because she's had no social interaction whatsoever. Her name is Neverfell, and she's almost like Alice from Alice in Wonderland, and she's been down in these tunnels in the city, underground city, for years and years, never seeing daylight, and not having any friends or social interactions because she's a student of this master cheesemaker, which is where the cheese comes into play. And so, you are so needy. Chill. And so Neverfell wants to get out of this underground city, and she like finds a way, and there's, well, not out of the city, I guess. She finds a way out of the underground into like the big city with all of the royalty and the court and all of that stuff. And so it was really interesting reading her story and what she went through, and there was a little bit of a lull about a third of the way through maybe, but then it just picked up and kept going, and it was absolutely wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I know I say that a lot, but it's true. I think I also gave it a 4-star rating on Goodreads. I will definitely look into more of Frances Hardinge's books because it was just great. It's a young adult book, A Face Like Glass, and she has several other books out, so I will definitely be looking for more of her novels. The last book I read for this month was The Last Days of Rabbit Haze by Anna McPartlin. I read this in 2 days. It was a beautiful story about a middle-aged woman, I guess. She would be in her 40s. I think she was in her 40s, and she's got a 12-year-old daughter, and she's discovered that her breast cancer has come back, and it has moved to her liver and to her lungs and to her bones. It's not a spoiler, you find that out very early on in the book. And what her family thinks and how they deal with that and how her little girl deals with it. And it's just a story about family and love and dealing with the horrible disease of cancer and what it does to families. I really liked this book. I also gave it 4 stars. I'm a very generous star giver. If I like it at all, it'll get at least 3.5, 4 stars. But I stayed up too late finishing it last night because I enjoyed it so much. I was like, I only have like 50 pages left. It was more like 70, but I stayed up and read it. And it was beautiful, and the ending was lovely, and you wouldn't think so, being a book about cancer and someone dying. She dies. I don't think that's a spoiler, because it's titled The Last Days of Rabbit Haze, so but yeah, it was a beautiful book, and I really enjoyed it. 4 stars. The Last Days of Rabbit Haze by Anna McPartlin. That one's been sitting on my TBR list for a while, and I read that for a Facebook group that so as a part of this book club, there is a bingo board full of prompts that you want to try to completely fill the whole bingo board. And before I read The Last Days of Rabbit Haze, I had 8 prompts left. So now I only have 7 prompts left, which then leads me into the rest of the year. I don't think I'm going to pull any stars for the rest of the year because I do want to finish this challenge and feel accomplished and maybe win some prizes, because there's some prizes involved in this. And so I'm going to intentionally read books that fit these prompts, and I have some ideas for some of the prompts, and so we'll just go through those really quickly. I have a prompt that says before or after in the title, so the words before or after, the word before or the word after, or both in the title. And I have 4 books on my TBR shelf that fit this prompt, and it's The Afterlife of Holly Chase, Before We Were Yours, Me Before You, and Before and Again. I'll put those pictures up here as I talk about them, and let me know if you've read any of them and if you've really enjoyed one of them, and then I can make sure I read that one. So I can just have a good time finishing up these prompts. Okay, the second prompt that I still have to finish is month or day in the title. So it can say month, or it can say day, or it can have any of the months or any days of the week in it. And the one book I have on my TBR shelf is the Wednesday group. So I'm going to read that one at the end of the year. I also have a fairy tale retelling prompt, and I'm going to be reading Cinder for that. So I just pulled that off my TBR. It's sitting here on my coffee table, waiting for me to crack it open. I've heard really great things about the Lunar Chronicles. Yes, the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. So I'm very excited to start this one. It's been on my TBR for a really long time. So I'm excited to get some of these out of the way, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but like seriously, my bookshelf is overflowing and I've got to cull some of these, and I want to read them all, so it's a great way to do that. I have another prompt that has a season in the title, so summer, winter, fall, spring, in whatever order I just said them. And the one book I have on my TBR is The Summer of Letting Go. If you have any other suggestions that might be a good read, feel free to leave them down in the comments. And and I'll just put them on my ever-growing TBR because I love books. Another one that I have, another prompt, is a beverage on the cover or in the title. So any beverage at all. I have several books that have either water in the title or have like a teacup on the front. So one of them is What to Say Next. That Sounds Fun. The Tears of Dark Water or Into the Water. So I'm going to pick one of those and read that for the beverage on the cover or title. What to Say Next and That Sounds Fun have a cup on the front. So that's how those would fit. You good? Okay. That's how those would fit for that prompt. Then I have weather in the cover, on the cover or in the title. And it says I have a book called My Sunshine Away, which would fit because sunshine is weather, I think. I mean, it is to me. And I don't really have much with like snow on the cover or rain on the cover or anything like that. So I think that's what I'm gonna go with for that. And my last one that I have to fill is a dual timeline. So a book that has a dual timeline in it. And I started Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. I've only got a few chapters into it, so I'm gonna finish that one for that prompt. If you have any suggestions for any of these prompts that I've mentioned, please feel free to leave them down in the comments. If nothing else, I'll just add them to my ever-growing TBR. I love getting book suggestions, book recommendations, so please, anytime, feel free to leave me recommendations on the comments or friend me on Goodreads. I'll put my link down in the doodly-doo down below, and with all of the books that I've mentioned in the doodly-doo down below in the description. And you can check those out as well, and I'll put my Goodreads page on there. So that's all for this video. I got through 3 books in October, which I was very happy to do because I was sick and not in any brain space to read for like almost 2 weeks. And then the rest of the year will be filling these prompts and finishing up the year. I've got a couple more books coming up for my In Real Life book club. The book that we're reading in my In Real Life book club for November is The Poppy Wife, which is by Caroline Scott. So I'm excited to read that. It's a novel about the Great War. So it's a historical fiction. One of my friends is a real big historical fiction fan. So that's what we're doing for November. And then the book club for all of these other prompts that I have mentioned in this video also does a monthly surprise prompt. So I try to read that every month as well. I have no idea. It's not revealed until the first day of the month, so I have no idea what it's looking like for November, but it's always a fun way to get another TBR off of my TBR shelf. Another book off of my TBR shelf. So that's it for today. Thank you again for joining me, and I hope you get to read some awesome books for the rest of the year. Bye, guys.